Welcome to SRMV News. What's happened and what's next in Sri Lanka? The country is hurtling toward bankruptcy. Day-to-day basics including food and medication are scant. Political defilement has developed doubt in the public authority. The one-two punch of government and monetary insecurity is further confusing recuperation. Sri Lanka's top state leader, who said he'll step down after another administration is introduced, says the island country's obligation-loaded economy has fell as it hits rock bottom financially to pay for food, fuel, and medication. It's been depending on help from adjoining India, China, and from the International Monetary Fund. Active Prime Minister Ranil Wickremesinghe, who got down to business in May, was underscoring the great errand he faces in pivoting an economy he said is setting out toward absolute bottom. Sri Lankans are skipping dinners as they persevere through deficiencies, arranging for quite a long time to attempt to purchase scant fuel and cooking gas. It's a brutal reality for a country whose economy had been developing rapidly, with a developing and agreeable working class, until the most recent emergency extended. How serious is this crisis? The public authority owes $51 billion and can't make interest installments on its credits, not to mention put a scratch in the sum acquired. The travel industry, a significant motor of financial development, has faltered due to the pandemic and worries about well-being after fear assaults in 2019. Furthermore, its money has imploded by 80%, making imports more costly and deteriorating. Expansion that is as of now crazy, with food costs rising 57%, as indicated by True Information. The Finance Ministry says Sri Lanka has just $25 million in usable unfamiliar stores. It needs $6 billion to remain above water over the course of the following half year. The outcome is a country on the edge of liquidation, with scarcely any cash to import gas, milk, cooking gas, medication, and even tissue. Financial analysts say the emergency comes from homegrown factors like long stretches of bungle and defilement. A large part of the public's rage has centered around President Gotabaya Rajapaksa and his sibling, previous Prime Minister Mahinda Rajapaksa. The last option surrendered following quite a while of hostile-to-government fights that in the long run turned rough. In April 2021, Rajapaksa abruptly prohibited imports of synthetic manures. The push for natural cultivating got ranchers off guard, devastated staple rice crops, driving costs higher. The public authority expected to help its incomes as unfamiliar obligation for enormous and problematic foundation projects took off. Yet rather Rajapaksa pushed through the biggest tax breaks in Sri Lankan history. Banks minimized Sri Lanka's evaluations, hindering it from acquiring more cash as its unfamiliar stores sank. Tropical Sri Lanka ordinarily isn't missing for food, yet individuals are going hungry. The UN World Food Programme says almost 9 of 10 families are skipping feasts or in any case holding back to loosen up their food, while 3 million are getting crisis philanthropic guide. The Ukraine war has pushed costs of food and oil higher. Expansion was close 40% and food costs were up almost 60% in May. Specialists have turned to virtual entertainment to attempt to get basic supplies of gear and medication. They likewise cautioned individuals to successfully try not to become sick or getting into mishaps. Developing quantities of Sri Lankans are looking for visas to go abroad looking for work. Government laborers have been given an additional vacation day for a very long time to permit them an opportunity to develop their own food. To put it plainly, individuals are languishing and frantic over things to move along. What is the government doing about it? This most recent is Wickremesinghe's 6th term as state leader. His arrangement was one of many moves to impart trust in the public authority and get the economy in the groove again as dissenters requested the finish of the Rajapaksa line. Up until this point, Sri Lanka has been wading through, fundamentally upheld by $4 billion in credit lines from adjoining India. An Indian designation was in the capital Colombo on June 23 for chats on more help, yet Wickremesinghe cautioned against anticipating that India should keep Sri Lanka above water for a really long time. Prior in June, the United Nations started an overall public interest for help. Up until this point, projected financing scarcely starts to expose the $6 billion the nation needs to remain above water throughout the following half year. Wickremesinghe told the Associated Press in a June 12 meeting that he would think about purchasing all the more steeply limited oil from Russia to assist with tiding the nation through its emergency. A portion of the strategies that added to monetary harm have since been switched, including the 2019 tax reductions and last year's substance compost import boycott. However, it will require investment before any impacts are clear. What's next for Sri Lanka? Sri Lanka energetically places last faith in IMF, said a new title in the Colombo Times paper. The public authority is in talks with the IMF on a bailout plan, and Wickremesinghe said June 22 that he expected to have a primer concurrence with the IMF by late July. Yet, that likewise relies on his substitution and another administration being introduced. Political debasement is likewise an issue, besides the fact that it assumed a part in the nation wasting its riches, yet it additionally confuses any monetary salvage for Sri Lanka. Sri Lanka's chiefs concurred that legislators will choose another president July 20, yet battled Tuesday to settle on the cosmetics of another administration. Anit Mukherjee, a strategy individual and financial expert at the Center for Global Development in Washington, said any help from the IMF or World Bank ought to accompany severe circumstances to ensure the guide isn't botched. In any case, Mukherjee noticed that Sri Lanka sits in one of the world's most active delivery paths, so letting a nation of such essential importance break down isn't a choice. Thanks for watching.